Evening, good morning, and good afternoon to everybody who's joining us from different parts of the world. My name is Dinakar, and I'll be the host for today. So I'd like to welcome everybody to Pcloudy's webinar on MCP servers and the future of QA, rewiring your test stack for the AI era. So, like I mentioned, my name is Dinakar, and I'll be the host for today. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few housekeeping rules. You may have noticed that your line is currently muted. If you do have any questions, you may use the Q&A option given at the bottom to submit your questions during the webinar. And we will answer your questions as part of the Q&A at the end of the webinar. Please note that this webinar is being recorded, and we will send the link of the recording to share with your colleagues later or give it a second watch. With that said, let me introduce the speaker as well. We have Shoaib Ahmed today. Shoaib is a senior manager of pre-sales at Pcloudy. He has around 13 plus years of experience in the IT industry. And prior to his role at Pcloudy, he has worked with Micro Focus as a pre-sales consultant for delivery management portfolio, catering to technologies such as DevOps, automation, performance, cloud, and mobility. So with that, let me get started. I will go over a few slides and then I'll hand it to Shoaib to take the presentation forward. So let's quickly get started with a quick poll to understand our audience. So you should be able to see your poll questions coming up. How familiar are you with MCP servers? You can choose your answer. I'm already using it on several tools. I've configured, but I've not used it yet or implemented it yet. I've heard about MCP, uh, but I want to know more. Or what is MCP? I don't know anything about MCP. So just put in your answers there, and we'd love to see what everybody has to say and what is the kind of audience that we have here today. Just getting a few more responses. Wow, okay. I see a few responses for I'm already using it. I've see a few more for not implemented. I've heard about it. Oh, a lot is a majority is I've heard about MCP, but I'm not sure what else it is. And after that, we following that, we have what is MCP. So majorly somebody who knows about MCP, you've heard about it, you've read about it on blogs, you may have seen webinars around it. But for those of you who are not sure what MCP is all about, we'll do a deep dive, and I'm sure that by the end of the webinar, you'll have a thorough understanding of what MCP is, how do you implement it, how can you use it for your organization. Uh, so yeah, poll results mostly say that I've heard about MCP, and I want to learn more about it. With that, let's understand what is the QA world like today, the reality of today's QA world. If you look at it, it's mostly like a chaos in the whole testing stack. You know, your tool is fragmented, right? There are lots of tools that we use in the current QA world. Your automation is in one place, your manual test cases are in another, your results are somewhere else, and the bugs are tracked yet in another tool. And then you have disconnected workflows. Sometimes the dev pushes a new build, but the testers don't see it right away. Your pipelines are running, but the test data environments aren't ready still. So context is keeps slipping through the cracks, and you have these disconnected workflows in the current world of today. And of course, processes are out of sync. Automation teams, they test on outdated builds. Performance testing kicks in too late, or the coverage doesn't always match the release priorities. Teams are always moving at different speeds, so there's always a bottleneck pileup that happens when the processes are not in sync, and the outcome of all of that is delayed releases, right? Not because teams are working hard, because uh, the system isn't working with them. And this is the chaos of today's QE world, right? And moving on now, testing, we see that testing is evolving quite fast. We see here that with AI powered tools on the next slide, when you see we see that we have AI powered tools. We've moved past, manually writing scripts. We've moved past that. We have so many tools available today that are able to do this whole manual work for us. And testing is you can be generated. The scripts can be generated. We have self healing. We have execution, which used to take days and weeks and months. Is now we're able to do that in hours, and we're finally moving at a pace of agile development. But here's the catch: while we have all these tools with us, our workflows are still fragmented. Our scripts are running, they're not running in a single place, uh, but it's all fragmented. We don't know where to go to look for information. We don't know where we can get all of this unification. You don't know how to get this unification. And this lack of unification is causing the delays in the release, like I mentioned earlier. So testing has evolved, but fragmentation is still killing the efficiency. So unless we fix that, we'll never unlock the true speed of agility that we're aiming for. Right. So with that, let me hand it to Shoaib, who will kind of do a deep dive into how we have evolved and how MCP comes into the picture and how that can change this whole equation of efficiency for us. So over to you, Shoaib, for your wisdom and understanding.
All right. Thank you so much, Dinakar, for the wonderful introduction and taking through the couple of slides. Made my job a little easier here. All right. So thanks everyone for taking your time again. And I'm glad to represent a new topic again, where we are talking about the MCP. All right, so let me be very quick here. So we'll just try to understand how it all evolved, right? So from automation to autonomous testing, right? It all started with the manual testing report and the manual testing our Excel report. So this is where this was our starting point. So where we write manual test cases manually, run them, and everything was done pretty much manual, right? And also tracking defects is something in the Excel sheets was something which we were following it up, and it all worked, but it did not scale. Right, a lot of time consuming efforts, too many resources, and that in turn had an impact on our releases. And then came the waterfall methodology, right? Different methodologies, of course, but yeah. So this was something where the testing was came very at the last moment, right? So after development and then the UAT, so any issues found during this stage meant very costly rework, and there was a lot of time being put up to overcome these issues as well. So testing was very slow, and it was reactive and as well as isolated. And then came the introduction of test automation in the age of the Selenium, the APM. There were few automation tools like QFT and so on. So that was something which was introduced. So we started automating the test cases, especially the regression. But still, it required scripting skills, and also it required high maintenance efforts, right? So when there was any change at the object property level or any changes at the UI level, enough maintenance was needed. And then we came into an era of agile and continuous testing and DevOps, right? So so with this agile, so everything was shifting left, right? So where we had to automate and keep up in pace with the development, and also make sure that we are a par at weekly releases or even to the daily releases. So that's something which was very focused. And then the testing cycles had to be very faster and more integrated, right? So that's where we're in an era of agile. And now, post agile and the DevOps, we are in the era of AI driven testing, right? So AI driven testing is something which was very much augmented, like it was auto identifying the elements, suggesting the different test cases that were needed, auto classifying the various different failures, right? So that's something which was driven through an AI side. But again, the tools became smarter, but eventually it was very much tool centric. And then came the AI agents. So that's where the era we are living in, right? So we are entering in the era of AI agents. And yeah, so these are very intelligent systems that just don't just assist, but also they plan, they create, they run, analyze, and even self-heal your test steps, right? So that's something which it has a power of automating. And it's not just automation anywhere, but it was an autonomy, right? So there are various different types of example in today's time, but let's not get into it. So let's try to understand the challenges and how do we overcome these challenges in our upcoming slides. So the technology and the tools are pretty much available, right? But they are all isolated or disconnected, disjointed, more appropriate word, wherein we have AI tools, a lot of solutions, data, huge amount of data that is there, device infrastructure, right? So different cloud platforms, and also when it comes to the reporting, everyone has their own reporting mechanism. So there is a lot of disconnected, right? So while we are using isolated solutions to make our life easier, but then still, they are all disjointed. So that's wherein the MCP comes into picture, right? So MCP servers are the glue that brings it all together. So we will try to understand how MCP server brings them all in one single platform, right? So we'll try to understand what MCP is. All right. Here's a quick definition about what MCP server is. So it's a model context protocol, and it's an open standard that enables the developers, or even the QAs to build a secure two-way connections between their different data sources and also different AI-powered tools. To put it in a simpler words, MCP is a server that implements the model context protocol, and it's actually a standardized way for the AI models like LLMs to safely and reliably access the external data, tools, resources like APIs, databases, and also file system. So it became a structured interface enabling all the AI agents to interact with the real world by retrieving the data, performing different actions, and using predefined prompts, right? So which makes the AI more powerful and accurate by reducing the hallucinations that we see, right? So that's on the MCP server. So let's try to understand the architecture behind how MCP architecture looks like, right? So it's a client and server architecture, wherein we have MCP host. Basically, it's an AI application that coordinates and manages one or more multiple MCP clients, right? And then we have an MCP client. MCP client is more of a component that maintains a connection to an MCP server, and it obtains the context from an MCP server for the MCP host to use. And then we have an MCP server, which is basically a program that provides context to different MCP clients. All right. So that's the architecture. So if you look at it, so it starts from the MCP host, wherein we have a Claude or a Cursor or any other host, right? So that acts as an MP host. So it establishes a connection to one or more MCP server using these MCP clients, right? And each MCP client maintains a dedicated one-to-one connection, right, with its corresponding MCP server, and then it accesses all the external databases, external file systems to retrieve the data. Of course, there are multiple layers within MCP. There is a data layer, there is a transport layer. So we can drill down more into it, but let's focus at a higher level. These are the various different components within the architecture of MCP. So now let's try to understand why are the QEs interested more in the model context protocol, that is MCP server. So first of all, it's an unified testing flow where multiple systems are connected in one single place. It makes life easier for any quality evangelist who can simply start testing using the MCP servers to make his life easier, more productivity in terms of an aura, and also help in overall the release time of the applications. And also when it comes to integration, it is very seamless, right? So this simplifies the integrations by using a standardized protocol for accessing a diverse data sources, reducing the complexity, and also enabling a vendor agnostic development. And also there is a reduced context switching. I need not, the QAs need not worry about switching into multiple tools here, because everything is in one single place. It's seamlessly integrated, so there is no way, no point to switch between one tool to a different tool. and it's very much scalable, right? So that's something which brings in a lot of value to this MCP, right? So it's a very much scalable solution where we can you can use it to our fullest potential, and it is very much future proof testing. So this can help a lot in a lot of ways when it comes to, be it from the collaboration side, the improving the AI functionality wise, the accuracy of the test that is being done. So a lot of advantages that it brings in when we talk about the model context protocol server. So so let's try to understand the MCP server. Are they same as the function calling? So we'll try to understand with our traditional approach versus what changes that it brings in, right? So these are some of the key differences that we have highlighted, traditional approach versus MCP server. So traditional approach is more of a point-to-point integration, right? So any external integration that we need to perform with the traditional approach, it's about the point-to-point integrations where we exchange the APIs and then the integration is in place, right? But that's only for a specific solution. But what if I have to bring in multiple solutions at the same time? So that takes a lot of effort. So it's a point-to-point integration, whereas it's a standardized protocol in case of MCP server. For all the interactions, I can interact with multiple data sources. It can be databases, it can be a file system, it can be any external tool, right? So that's one of the biggest advantages. And with the traditional approach, it's a very much manual setup, right, where we had to do the authentication and even when it comes to the context passing. Whereas with MCP servers, it's very much a plug and play with AI tools. So just one configurations, everything is up and running. Then plug and play, where you can use various different AI tools to connect and get the responses. And the traditional approach is it's very rigid. It's very hard to scale. You cannot scale to a point, right? It brings in a lot of complexity within the traditional approach. But whereas in MCP servers, it becomes a centralized solution. The collaboration becomes easy, and it also it's a reusable integration. That's something which can be made use of. And also it's limited to one specific tool or a workflow, right, at a time. I cannot integrate multiple systems at the same time and then interact with these systems. It has to be very much limited. But whereas you can in MCP, you can orchestrate multiple tools and also devices in one flow. That's one of the biggest advantages. And when it comes to the maintenance, very high maintenance in case of a traditional approach where you have to maintain a lot of connectors. But in case of MCP server, the complexity is very much reduced. There's the no more managing of connectors, and that's something which has a great value. And also with the traditional approach, it can only suggest the code, but it does not execute. Whereas MCP server, it can use the AI assistant to execute the tasks, right? So that's the power of MCP server. So we'll look into how this can be incorporated with our product Pcloudy solution and see how it can really help. This is just a pictorial representation with the traditional approach and MCP server. While with the traditional approaches, you can see there are a lot of different external system, each having its different API keys. The picture depicts here that it shows every traditional API requires different authentication and integration for each services. Like so there's a lot of complexity there. But in case of an MCP architecture, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Right, that's just a one-time configuration, and once we configure, we are up to connect to various different systems in one single platform, which will make life easier and simpler. All right, so here's one quick comparison with the data here, real data, traditional API calls versus MCP server. So the task here is, assume we have an execution of 100 test cases on 20 real devices that are running in very much in parallel. So the average test time to execute every test is 90 seconds, which is nothing but 150 minutes for 100 tests in parallel. Right. So let's compare it now with traditional API approach versus MCP server. With the traditional API approach, the overhead time is for a session authentication and even for an environment per device is around 5 minutes. And even when it comes to MCP server, it is the amount of time remains same, but it is set at the global level, right? So when it's a global level, can be used from different users, need not configure at every instances, right? And then when we talk about the orchestration latency, where we involve various different tasks like invoking, waiting, parsing, it says it's about 20 seconds per test, which is nothing but 33.3 minutes. Whereas when you orchestrate with an MCP server, it is about 5 seconds per test, right? So we are reducing drastically here, and that is up to 8.3 minutes. And plus the logs and the artifact, the collation per device is around 10 minutes. Whereas since MCP is more of a centralized, the artifacts and insights takes about just 5 minutes, and it's one-time activity which is set to a global parameters. So net, if you compare it, the traditional API approach will be around 3.3 hours, approximate value that is. And when you compare it with MCP approach, it's around 2.8 hours approx, about 15% of in the amount of time that we are going to reduce yet here. And when we compare it with the manual human hours on both traditional approach versus MCP server, so the traditional API manual touches per device is 5 minutes per session plus 10 minutes for artifacts, which is around 15 minutes. So for 20 devices, it's about 300 minutes, which is nothing but 5 hours. Whereas with MCP server, the manual human hours for MCP centralized global touches around 10 minutes to 10 minutes in total. So you can really see the comparison, how it really helps you in terms of bringing the productivity and also reducing the time in getting the setup ready and also executing it. So a quick takeaway from our previous slide. So 15% faster is with MCP, right? From 3.3 hours to 2.8 hours is what we achieved when you compare it with the traditional way of approach. And also the human effort was around 4.8 engineers hours was saved per full run. All right, so that's the quick takeaway where we had a quick comparison on the traditional versus the MCP approach. Now let's try and understand how do these MCP servers interact with Pcloudy. Now this is really interesting. So you can bring in your favorite AI tools. It can be Cloud Desktop, it can be Cursor, GitHub Copilot, or any other AI tools that you want to use it. So once you configure this with MCP server, you can do a lot of things within Pcloudy, right? Straight from connecting to the real mobile devices and the browser instances to creating the automation test through Qpilot, right? So I'll briefly talk about these different parts once I get into a demonstration. But yeah, from connecting to real physical devices to connecting to the real browsers and also testing the automation through the Qpilot, which is Pcloudy's in-house automation solution, and also analyzing the performance insights and also the test data, right? So this is the Pcloudy stack which you can interact with and perform many things. So I'll have a quick demo. Maybe I'll just show you how it really works. And so there are multiple use cases that you can perform through MCP server, right? So you can connect all the AI tools direct to the real devices, centralized logs, results, and the test artifacts are at one place, so that it becomes easy for the collaborations between different teams based in different locations. You can automate regressions across different device variations, right? So that's something which it brings in a lot of value, right? So and it helps in context switching, right? You don't have to really worry about switching from one tool to another tool. So that's something. And as we spoke earlier, it's a scalable platform where you can really scale the solution and use it to test more number of test cases. So with that, I'll quickly get into a live demo where I'll talk about how this MCP server is integrated with a Pcloudy platform. So now let me quickly give a brief overview about what Pcloudy is, right? So this is the Pcloudy solution. And yeah, so to give a just overview about Pcloudy is basically a digital testing cloud testing platform where we've been helping test different types of mobile and web applications. So we are basically providing you an infrastructure plus not just infrastructure, we have gone beyond infrastructure. There are many AI-based capabilities that support for automation. We are capturing the performance insights on the real mobile devices. There are a lot many. All right, so this is how the solution looks like once you sign up to our platform. We have remote access to real devices and also browser instances. For example, if you're looking for a quick functional testing for your mobile app, you can get into the device list and look at various different devices. So these are real physical devices that are hosted across different part of the world, which support different OS versions for both Android as well as iOS, different OEMs, different screen sizes. Apart from smartphones, we support tablets, phablets, different network carriers. If you are looking to test your application on different SIM-based devices, and then we do have it. And location-wise, our data center is spread across different locations in India, in US, in Singapore, in Middle East, and we are also, expanding towards Europe and also in Canada in upcoming months. All right, so that's the device list. I'll not get into specifics about how you can perform the functional testing. My focus will be more on establishing the connection through an MCP with my AI-based AI solutions. Right, so this is the device list, and similarly, we have a browser instances where you can find real Windows and Mac machines with different browsers where you can seamlessly go ahead and test your web applications. And we can seamlessly integrate with all the existing automation frameworks from your APM to Selenium, Cypress to Playwright. So we can seamlessly integrate. And on top of it, Pcloudy has its own AI-based automation solution, which we have termed it as Qpilot, right? So there were many webinars, many sessions that were conducted on Qpilot. In case if you're interested, you can just go ahead and look at it on our website. But yeah, just to give a quick overview, Qpilot is basically, it's an AI-based automation solution that helps you automate any of your applications, be it on web, mobile, on any underlying technologies. So it's the tech behind Qpilot is agentic AI. Agentic AI is something which has been used, which is intelligent enough in taking decisions, right? When you compare it with Gen AI. So all you have to do is just provide the description in simple English language. Rest, the AI-based automation solution does the job for you. Maybe I'll just quickly show you how the script looks like. I'll not take much time here, right? So this is my description that I'm going to define very much in natural language, and this is something which is being converted into an automation test scripts, right? So you're not writing any line of code. The AI agents does the job for you, right? And it generates the script in multiple language, like in JavaScript and Python. Once the scripts are generated, I can go ahead and run. So there are collections as well. Collections are basically test suite where I can have multiple test cases and run it together. All right, so that's more on the Qpilot. So now let's get back to our major focus here, that is on the MCP, how MCP can be integrated with Pcloudy systems. So I have Cloud Desktop here as an AI-based solution, which I will be using it to interact with the Pcloudy system, right? So to begin with, we can get started by getting into the settings of Cloud, where I can go ahead and define the Pcloudy credentials here, right? So I can just go ahead and then configure here. So this helps me in configuring the details, like the user details, the Pcloudy username, followed by API key. Every user will have its own unique key, and followed by the cloud URL. So this is something which you will be configuring it. So if you get into a edit configuration, you will see an JSON file where you will be configuring it further, right? So just configure with these details and you're done, right? So of course, there are some other prerequisites which you can get over from our website, right? So that's something which you can configure. So once this setup is completed, you may simply go ahead and then get into the new chat, right? So the initial setup of configuring the JSON is something which was already done. Now, if you look at the video, I'm just trying to provide the prompt here. So I'm just saying list all Android devices and iOS devices. So it'll just go ahead and then pull all the available devices that are available on the cloud, right? So both Android as well as iOS. Okay, so it'll just go ahead and then fetch. So these devices, so I'm not even connecting to the Pcloudy platform here. It just fetched me all the devices that are available, right? Which are there. And now next, once I have fetched the devices details, Now if I'm looking to connect any specific device, I can do that as well. So before that, so if I have to see what are all the applications that are available on my cloud drive that I have already uploaded, so it will get me all the list of applications that are available. So get all application is the API that has been called. So these are the various different applications that are in my account. All right, so it goes ahead and fetches each of these different APIs, the IPA and the APK files. And now, so once I have got the details about all my APKs and IPA details, I can further go ahead and then define what next, what other actions that I am booking, what is that I want to perform. So what I'll try to do is maybe I'll just try to book a quick device. So I'll just say book an Android device and install any application, any specific app, right? So that's something which I can do it. So here I'm just trying to perform the below steps. So I can define it. So it's all about providing what actions that you're looking at. So it's all about the prompt that you provide, right? So I'll just go ahead and then provide the details here. So I'll just perform the below steps. So I'm just manually entering my the login credentials here, the login details, and then I'm also providing the app details here. So the app that I want to test is the Blood Bank 1 app, and the app package and the app activity, I will define it. So there's something which you can use it, or you can also get it from the system itself in case if that's something which is already there. So I'll provide all these detail and share the live view link, right? I'll just go ahead and then proceed, hit the button. So this is the scenario that I'm going to perform: book a device and then perform all these below steps along with the application details. What it does is it goes ahead, picks up the device that we have provided, and it will also give us the live view. So this is the live view URL which I can use it, or we can simply open the URL in my browser where I can directly paste it within my browser, and this will in turn take me to the live view of the device. So you will be able to see what's really happening on the device. So I just opened it. So as you can see, the device has been connected, and so the application has been installed with the following steps, whatever that's something. So this is something which you can configure it, which you can play around it, and you can also automate it, right? So as I mentioned earlier, so you can pass different commands. You can if you want to automate through Qpilot, just provide the steps, provide the application details. Rest it will automatically provide the details directly from your app details, right? So this is something which has been done automatically through your respective AI solutions, right? So likewise, many actions, many different actions that you can perform, so which will eventually bring a lot of value and also productivity within your testing site. Right, so I am just now using the release device option, wherein I can just go ahead and then release it. So without interacting with the UI, I was able to perform a sample test where I connected to a device, install the app, and then further just released it. Right, so all can be done through your respective AI based solutions. And similarly, this can be configured even with your different AI solutions, be it on the cursor side or any other solutions. So this is what I had to. And on the automation side, maybe I had run sometime back how my automation script looks like when I'm executing through the Claude desktop or the cursor. So it will go ahead and then perform various different actions. Like for example, it will get into your Qpilot, create a project, create a test suite, and then also create the scenario for you. Right. So like, for example, this was one of the examples that we wanted. So if I just show you the prompt, what I had, so these are the various different prompts that I use. So just run the below steps on the iOS 15 device, create a new project, test suite, and the test cases. So these are my steps that I provided within my Claude, and along with the app details. Rest it will do on its own. All right, so it'll just go ahead and then perform all the various different actions, and yeah, and it will help you provide the script here. So as you can see, my script here, this has been created through the MCP server, which we have integrated with our Claude. So the application details, the description, what we had provided here, and then the script. So basically, so these steps will be executed directly through an MCP once it's triggered. But once the execution, the script generation is completed, you go ahead and then recreate your scripts. You have to regenerate. So that's one time activity. Post your scripts are generated, you can simply go ahead and then execute them as well. So I can generate it in Python, I can generate it in JavaScript. So multiple actions can be performed. So let me run this now. So now I can just go ahead and then choose any of the devices, run it. So my script run request has been sent successful. And in case if I have to monitor live, I can go to the live view. So this is out of MCP. I mean, once my script is created, that's the role of MCP. But beyond that, where I want to execute my script that has been created, I can just go to the Pcloudy instance and start monitoring it. So this is my live session where I would be able to see the devices coming in. As you can see, 2 devices which we had triggered are started here. And yeah, the progress is yet to start. So once it's ongoing, I can also go ahead and then monitor my sessions. So that's something which we can do it, right? So which we can monitor. So there are a lot of enhancements that are been happening through MCP. As MCP server is evolving, a lot of many things can be performed, right? So basically the idea here is to connect your AI solutions with different external systems, right, which will make our life easier, right, from the automation test execution standpoint. It'll be very seamless. I don't really have to worry about orchestrating it on multiple set of devices. It does on its own. So as you can see, the execution has been began. And yeah, I can further get into the live view to see the actions in live. So whatever script that was created through an MCP server, I made sure that I executing it now, right? So that's the power of MCP that you can bring in, right? So these test cases will go on, then it'll execute, and then once the execution is completed, you will be also be able to monitor your reports. So let me quickly show you how the report looks like. Yeah, so I can get into the details. So these are my progressive reports. We'll talk about more details, number of test cases that are passed, number of test cases that are failed. It'll take some time to load the video, but nevertheless, I can show you the one which were already completed some time back. Yeah, so this is my test execution status with the test logs, right? So for the entire session, you can monitor it. Then there's device logs, APM logs, app profiling as well. And then these reports are shareable. You may create a share link, report links get created, and you may share it among your team members. So that's something which you can do it. So pretty straightforward on that. So that's all I had from the MCP server standpoint. If there are any questions, I'll just quickly open up. We can just go over the questions. All right, so there are a few questions coming in. Let me try to read out. So there is one question called, do I need an additional infrastructure to run MCP server? So the answer is no. So if you're already using Pcloudy device lab, you can simply plug in your MCP, which will eventually call the devices directly from Cloud or even Cursor, like we have just shown. You don't need any additional infrastructure to it. Yeah, hope that answers your question. So there is one more follow-up question from Ketan. It says, is MCP only for functional testing, or it can also support performance and accessibility testing? Very good question. Uh, MCP can go beyond, right? It is not limited to any specific testing here. So while we showcase the functional testing today, it can go beyond and even perform different types of tests, be it from the monitoring the performance standpoint of mobile applications to even getting into the accessibility testing, right? So as the MCP gets evolved, so these are the areas that it can support. All right, then there is one more question from a user who says, can AI agents orchestrate complex end-to-end scenarios like installing app or setting network conditions or running test? Yeah, right. So very good question. So the answer is yes. MCP allows AI agents to chain actions, execute workflows, and even retrieve insights across devices in a single orchestration flow. Right. So, for example, if I ask Claude to create a full test suite using Qpilot to cover various test cases and export the reports back to the cloud, that's something which can be done in an automated sequence way. Right. So that is very much possible. Yeah. Hope that answers your question. All right. I can see a few more questions coming in. I can just take one more question. So the question from the user says, can AI tools automatically generate and run test scripts via MCP without manual scripting? Yeah, of course. I mean, that's what we saw today. Unfortunately, I could not show it live from the automation standpoint. But yeah, when so the answer is yes. So with MCP, you can generate the test scripts either on through Claude or even through Cursor and provide instructions to trigger the executions, right? So and validating the outcome directly. So that will help minimize the manual scripting. You don't even worry about writing any line of code here. So that's something which you can seamlessly do. And then there was one more follow-up question from the same user. It says, can MCP let AI agents trigger, monitor, and validate test without human intervention? Absolutely, yes. Right. So MCP enables autonomous testing cycles where the agents starts to test, execute, monitor, analyze, and also provide results. All right. So and end to end. Right. So that's something which is possible. And one more question from a user says, can the MCP be installed locally and have the scope inside the premises, or organization is better assistant about the data about the application? Will it be compromised when we expose the external tools? Uh, Good question. I mean, of course, MCP can be configured locally, but then it may require a lot of other efforts, right? If you're, as I said earlier, if you're using Pcloudy, you don't really have to worry about configuring it. It's all about providing the configurations like the username, API key followed by the cloud URL. All right. Of course, when it comes to security and the compliance, MCP is something which it's been it's handled. It's all considered from the security and the compliance side. So do not worry about the data. All right. So data is something which is pretty much handled. You can read there are a lot of blogs around MCP on the security and even on the compliance side. So you can be rest assured, right? So it gives you a lot of security to your data that you test. It can be set up locally as well, but it will have a lot of efforts. That's something which you can do it. But in case if you are using it through Pcloudy, I think that will be more easier. Hope that answers your question. There was one more question. It says, so MCP server support and fastens the manual automation and UI testing with the help of AI. Also, can we schedule automation scripts? Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, scheduling is something which can be done through MCP, and that can really help. It's an end-to-end automation test scripts. End-to-end automation can be achieved, which involves even the scheduling of your automation test scripts. Yeah, it can be done. Hope that answers your question. All right. So with that, if there are no any other questions, I would like to thank everyone who participated in this webinar. Apologize for not showing it live. There were some glitches at my Claude desktop. I'll just try to look into it. But however, with the video, I hope the message for the MCP has been gone and you were able to grab it. Feel free to reach us out in case if you have any further questions, you can reach out to us. I'll be happy to interact and show you more live demonstrations and help you with your challenges or needs, whatever that you have. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Shoaib, for sharing your wisdom in the field of, MCP servers. I know you've done a lot of uh, digging into it and doing different scenarios. And we were not able to see that live, but I'm sure we'll get those videos out for people to watch. So do keep an eye out on our LinkedIn pages, on our YouTube pages for those videos that will come out. That will actually show you the demonstration that Shoaib has worked on, and the others on our teams that are using MCP very effectively for efficient test management. Um, and so thank you, Shoaib, for doing an entire deep dive into understanding how these MCP servers work and how to use them efficiently. And we also want to thank our audience, all the participants who've joined us for the webinar. We're sure that some of the insights that were shared, the ideas that were shared, sparked a few ideas in your brains. That is, my recommendation would be to kind of mull over these ideas, think about it, talk to your peers, talk to your, your managers, and keep the conversation going. And also learn, do some research, go on blogs, read our blogs. We've got a lot of content around this. And if you do have any questions, like Shoaib mentioned, you can always feel free to reach out to us. Go to our website, pcloudy.com, www.pcloudy.com. Click on the chat option, and you will get a bunch of questions that you can ask us. Or you can write to us over email, info@pcloudy.com, or directly reach out to Shoaib on his LinkedIn handle. You can find him at, Shoaib Ahmed. You look for him, the senior manager pre-sales at Pcloudy, and I'm sure he'll be able to connect with you and answer any questions that are there. With that,
So, yeah.
thank you once again for being an engaging audience, and happy testing.